Good evening and welcome to another episode of Fresh Natural Live. I hope your Monday's going well. Mine was busy and somewhat hectic, but as usual, we have a great show for you tonight. It's always a great show on Fresh Natural Live. So I don't know how I say that all the time. That's redundant. When we say Fresh Natural Live, that should be equivalent to great show. But nevertheless, we have a great show tonight on Fresh Natural Live. We had to make a change. Chef Babette had an emergency that she had to attend to. She was going to be our special guest tonight, and we were going to have a special show to wish her happy birthday. So we're still going to wish her happy birthday. And there are a couple of videos I'm going to play about Chef Babette. And she will be with us next Monday talking about holiday specials, what you can eat for Christmas, for your Christmas meals. We did holiday meals and Thanksgiving, and we're going to do a part 2 next Monday because we want to keep you guys full of ideas in terms of what you can eat and how you can do to keep your health up. This is the number one time of the year for people to get sick. I have a number of patients in the hospital with heart failure, a number of patients who died within the last few days. I heard of a patient died just yesterday, another patient on hospice care with heart failure. So heart failure is really the number one cause of morbidity and mortality. That's death, sickness and death in the United States. And this is the peak year where people die from heart disease and other chronic illnesses, infections and the like. So we want to keep you healthy and keep you on the right track for eating healthy. So we're going to talk about that next Monday with Chef Babette. But nevertheless, I want to, after we come on the show, we're going to wish her happy birthday in a very special way. So I'm going to text Chef Babette, and hopefully she's able to look at part of the show or look at the recording after she's done with her emergency. And we will get her properly celebrated, and we'll be able to have her on the show next week. So sit back. We got a great show. I'm going to give you the topic once we get on next. Okay, welcome back. As I said, we were going to celebrate Chef Babette's 71st birthday. I want to bring my friends and colleagues on stage. Dr. Pam Atkins, how are you doing?
Hi, good evening. I'm doing well.
Welcome to Fresh Natural Life. Dr. Palmer, how are you today?
I'm good.
You're saving lives in the pediatric world?
Yes.
How's everything?
Good. It's just a busy day because, like you said, we're getting into cold season.
Yeah.
Upper respiratory viral season. So it's busy.
And I guess y'all don't have enough PPEs.
I knew you were going to say that. So PPEs all day.
I didn't have clinic today. I actually thought about you in those PPEs because you told me you were going to a clinic to hire PPEs. I was thinking about you. I was walking around in my clinic. Today's my admin day. And so after my work, I had my shorts on and stuff. And I had to go and do something at the office. Got to do some administrative stuff. And so I didn't feel like throwing on any scrubs. So I had my T-shirt on and short pants and threw some shoes on, no socks, just walking through the clinic, no mask. Oh, do this, do the other. But it's all good. It's all good. So as I said, Chef Babette had an emergency she had to take care of, and I think things are going to be okay with her. So unfortunately, we won't have her here live today, but we're going to celebrate Chef Babette in style. And I want everybody in the comment. Hello, Catherine Welch and beautiful Jules and Pauline Stevenson, Mary McCoy, Anilra, Barbara Saunders, Stella, hello, greetings. Thanks for joining us so early. We want you guys to join me in singing happy birthday. Let me give you an option here. You can have me sing happy birthday, or we can listen to Stevie Wonder sing his happy birthday song. Which would y'all prefer?
Stevie.
Wonder.
What? All right. Here we go. Stevie Wonder. Happy birthday, Chef Babette.
Someone who stands for good could not have a day that would. He said, aside from the recognition, that this can never be, just because some cannot see. The dream is plenty, that they should make it become an illusion. December time will bring. In our heart we sing the Mandela and Martin Luther King. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. We know that there should be a holiday where peace is celebrated in all the world. Tell me something new. Some people like me and you who know the way to truth. It's love and unity for all of God's children. It's pretty big. And I hope it should be spent in the rain of those who live behind with the wonderful people. So let us all begin. You know that love can't win, that all no holding it. We lie
Happy birthday. Oh, we're back. Okay. Wonderful. Happy birthday, Chef Babette. And we wish you many, many more. I'm going to send you a clip of this, and we'll do this show in honor of you, although we'll see you next week. Very good friend of ours, and especially a good friend of mine. I've known her for a number of years, and we've worked together, and I look forward to working with her more. So anyway, so that's that. So Chef Babette's going to share some of her Fountain of Youth secrets with us. So in place of that topic, I decided to come up with everybody's favorite topic of the year. What might that be? My lovely panelists, co-panelists.
I'm not even gonna.
You have us on the end of our seats. We don't know. So
Yeah, we don't know.
Catherine Welch. Catherine Welch. What's Now, one thing before I go to this, let's see here. Somebody's trying to bust me out. Who is this here? Somebody's trying to bust me out.
That was Barbara
Saunders.
Saunders, yeah.
Yeah, you saw that.
Yeah.
Don't you have to pay for that? Now, I'm not a nice guy, Barbara. Normally they would block you from the show. You're trying to bust us out. I don't know anything about having to pay for it. We just put the song on. We have a very small show, and we have very few listeners, a very intimate setting. So hopefully nobody's going to come out with us. So drum roll, please. So we're going to talk about everybody's favorite topic, COVID. So this a colleague and friend of mine, I won't mention the name. I should mention it. Should I mention the name?
Yeah, you can mention the name.
Well, I'll tell you what. It rhymes with Celeste Palmer, so I won't just give a rhyme.
That's not a rhyme.
Oh, anyway. Well, nevertheless, here's the article. So, the Omicron may require a fourth vaccine dose, Pfizer says. Now, I'm going to read through the article, but I just want to get my colleagues' take on the title, and whatever take you want to have. I just want to get your take on the title. I mean, what jumps out in your mind? Omicron may require a fourth vaccine dose, or maybe that's not enough. If it's not enough, you want me to go on, I can go on. Any thoughts, Dr. Atkins,
Well,
Dr. Palmer?
yeah, well, I mean, I'm not surprised from this title because it has come out that they feel that they have to rework the vaccines because of Omicron, because it seems that there's not the vaccines that are not providing protection for this strain. So, and they said it's going to take some weeks or more. So I'm not surprised. It seems like it will be another vaccine or a booster.
Yeah. It's now somebody says, "Oh, here's an interesting comment." Jennifer, Dr. Palmer, you have any comments on that? Any thoughts on that title? You sent me the article, so you've had time to think.
Yeah, I mean, it just, the question is, well, where does it end? Because variants don't end. So where does this end?
Yeah. I think that's exactly right. I like this comment by Jennifer Fisher. Pfizer says jumps out at me. Now, the interesting thing about this is, and then Barbara Saunders has a question for you. I'm gonna flash it up. You can see it, Dr. Palmer. I'm gonna let you think about it. But so it's very interesting that you pointed that out, because that speaks volumes. So here we have a variant that we know very little about, and you have a pharmaceutical company that makes vaccines coming in saying there may be a fourth dose required. Now, they did say may, so I'll give them that. They didn't say definite, et cetera, et cetera. But to speculate to this extent so early on, we know nothing about it. The little we know about it is that has very mild symptoms. Nobody's died across the world so far. Now, there are only a few cases identified. I think there are, 49 in the United States, or there may be more than that, 49 across 19
I think there are more now.
More now?
Yeah.
Okay, and if y'all can Google that, find out, it's fine. But so we have a certain number of cases in the United States and so on. And but now they're saying a fourth dose may be required. They're already working on a modification to treat it. Now, I'm going to have a lot to say as we move on, but I just thought I'd throw that out. So, but the peculiar thing about Pfizer says that you don't have an independent scientific body that's saying, okay, let's look at this. You don't have an independent group of scientists or the CDC, not sure that they're independent or not, or FDA, but there's not an independent scientific group, but rather a for-profit pharmaceutical company saying that we may need another dose of a drug that they make money from. And so I just want to leave that there, which raise one's eyebrows. Now, Dr. Celeste, you have a question here. You heard of renal medullary carcinoma in young people with sickle cell trait.
I've heard of it because that's one of those book questions that we get, but I feel like it's rare. I've never seen it or treated it or dealt with it. Even when I worked in the hospital, I've traveled, and so I've treated and worked with patients on the continent in Ghana with sickle cell, and I got to see some of the more book sequelae of it over there than I have ever seen over here. But that one I would have to do a little bit more reading on to kind of, get more information on it. But I have heard of it, yes.
So, I mean, medullary carcinoma, I see a fair amount of that in my adult patients, and I see a fair amount of sickle cell trait, which is a relatively benign disease. So I'm not aware of any association of the two. Like you, I would have to research an association, but sickle cell trait is relatively benign. I mean, of all the sickle cell trait patients I've seen, I haven't admitted any of them for sickle cell related issues. And medullary carcinoma, I see it in a lot of people without sickle cell trait. So yeah. I'm not aware of any association myself either. Now, Barbara Saunders said there was one death reported today. So I'll have to look at that. And I don't know if y'all in front of your computer can Google.
You want deaths or you want cases?
Well, there was one death reported today, Barbara Saunders says.
You want cases though?
Yeah, give me cases and then give me something about the one death while we're kind of moving on, and we can kind of talk about both. A death reported in London, I think. Let's see here. There was a variant from South Africa beyond the year. Okay. Well, okay. So so our group is on top of this Omicron. So let's go through this article here, and when you find that, just kind of chime in. So the new Omicron variant could make it more likely that people will need a fourth coronavirus vaccine earlier than expected. Now, this is Pfizer official said on December 8th. The standard 2 dose may be less effective against the variant. Now, that was a question of the standard 2 variant dose being effective against Delta. In fact, it was the efficacy of the reports of efficacy being very low. Now, it's hard to really accurately test efficacy if you don't have prospective randomized controlled trials. And so that's clearly a handicap that we're dealing with. And so, it's that makes a big question. So, but the timeline might need to be moved up for a fourth dose. Previously, Pfizer CEO Albert Bourla, PhD, said another dose might be needed about a year after a third shot. Now the company signs to believe that a fourth shot, which targets Omicron variant, could be required sooner. So with Omicron, we need to wait and see because we have very little information. I think that's the important thing, is very little information. And what we do know that it has very mild symptoms and mild infections. So right now, the most important thing is we have winter in front of us. From a healthcare perspective, it's important to understand that we need to be well protected to go through the winter. Now, I want to pause there.
It's just as of December the 10th, it's the 43. That's where 43 comes from.
Okay, 43 December 10th. Okay. And
Um,
then anything about one death?
Still working on that one just to verify.
Oh, wait.
It is. I see the article here.
Is
This
in Britain?
UK reports first death. 7 hours.
About the patient?
Hold on. Britain.
And,
I'll, I'll chime in.
No problem. That's it. So anyway, but let's pause here about protected to go through the winter. Now we've had a lot of comments about protection. So Dr. Atkins, when you talk to your patients about preparing themselves or protecting themselves for the winter, what are the types of things that you recommend or would you recommend, if you will?
Well, it's important, we always emphasize first to eat a healthy diet. And it has been proven that in studies we've talked about that the plant-based diet has shown to help decrease the severity of symptoms if one should come in contact with a coronavirus, as opposed to a meat-based diet like the keto diet, ketogenic diet, and I think the pescatarian diet was somewhat in between. But so that's number one, and then there are so many. There are natural immune support system. Number one, vitamin D, we've always talked about, and there's other supplements. We use a grapefruit seed extract that's excellent, has antiviral, antibacterial, and antifungal properties. We've used it for years, and so it's very helpful. Quercetin, zinc, vitamin C, all these things are helpful, and so that strengthens your fortress. It's like strengthening your home. So if there's a attack with a hurricane or a tornado, that your home may be reinforced, or your body or your temple may be reinforced. So we have to know that we have more than just we can do more than just a vaccine to strengthen our fortify our immune system against an attack.
Yeah, and I agree with you 100%. And so, I mean, none of us on this panel is here to say whether or not you get the vaccine. We can't, we are prescribing doctors, and when we prescribe things for our patients on a one-on-one basis, and we say, get this medicine, don't get that medicine. Lots of patients, I said, you can't have the vaccine because of this specific reason, or hold off or wait. And so we're not here to say get it or don't get it. What the comment we're making now, and the comment we frequently make, is that the message that's left out in this whole conversation regarding COVID, coronavirus, and the various coronavirus variants is that optimize your health. So here we have a statement here, by Dr. Burla. I think it's a continuation of his comments. Is important to understand that we need to be well protected to go through the winter. Now, he's making reference to the need for vaccine. He's not talking about all the things Dr. Atkins talked about in terms of healthy diet. I mean, why isn't he talking about getting your vitamin D levels up? Why isn't he talking about, quercetin and zinc and vitamin C? Why isn't he talking about that? These are things that you want to do to protect yourself during the winter. Now it was reported. Now, Cynthia Barbara says it hadn't been reported what the person's age or vaccination status, but then Cynthia says the person was vaccinated.
Well, one of the articles says that, they have not reported anything. It's not clear whether the person was vaccinated or had any underlying health conditions. So they're not really.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then I'll tell you what. Let's go to this article and make a prediction. So anyway, the third dose should provide protection throughout the winter. Dr. Burla says that may be until early spring to develop new shots that target Omicron, which Pfizer could have ready by March. Now, as of afternoon, December 8th, 43 people in 19 states have tested positive for the Omicron variant. This is according to the AP. More than 75% had been vaccinated, and a third had had booster shots, and about a third had traveled internationally. So, based on this article, the data here, there's a 75% chance that this person had been vaccinated, whoever died, but we'll find out. So it wasn't really, they said it wasn't really clear, the vaccination status. Now, of the people that get Omicron, nearly all of them have had mild symptoms so far. The most common symptoms being cough, congestion, and fatigue. One person has been hospitalized, but no deaths have been reported so far. Now, we covered this in a previous discussion on Omicron. I'm bringing it up again in the context of this article where Pfizer is saying we may need a fourth shot. The CDC is still trying to determine how the Omicron variant may affect the course of the pandemic and whether the strain is more contagious or causes more severe disease. Now, one thing we discussed in the previous show, we talked about the whole concept of variants. As it goes along, they become more contagious and less virulent. That's a pattern. You see that with flu. You see the other viruses. The flu virus of 1918 has descendants that we're still involved with now. The flu of 1918 has great-great-grandchildren variants that we're involved with now. And they're not causing worldwide, death, because as the variants come, they become more contagious, less lethal, less virulent. And so we have an idea based on what we know about viruses in general. So I think, and in fact, we know that with Delta, the hospitalization were down compared to with the original Alpha Beta variants. And the number of deaths were down, relatively speaking. Now, there were some countries that had higher deaths or equal deaths that may not have gotten the herd immunity. And many of these countries were highly vaccinated countries too. So there hasn't been shown a clear correlation between vaccines and suppression of infection. And then this has been admitted by the CDC. So this is not, me making this up. So vaccinated people can get it. 3/4 of people who get the Omicron has been vaccinated. Now, that's largely due to the fact that they're looking at this data in highly vaccinated places. So you're going to have more people vaccinated, more people getting it. But the long story short is that it's not preventing the Omicron. And we talked about the mechanism of why a vaccine, when you look at a vaccine, in this particular vaccine, it forces you to create antibodies to a very specific part of the spike protein. So if the virus changes the way that part of the spike protein looks, then the antibodies that the vaccine is forced you to make will not recognize that variant, and therefore it will overcome or surpass your antibodies or your immunity, your quote unquote immunity. It's not an immunity, your vaccination. And so just a few other things. Here, I'm not going to belabor the point. I want to open up the floor for discussions. The CDC is still trying to determine how Omicron variant, I went through that. We want to make sure that we bolster everyone's immunity, she said, and that's really what motivated the decision to expand our guidance. We're going to talk about bolstering immunity in a minute. Y'all put a pin in that. Put a pin in, everybody type in the chat. Everybody's paying attention, type the word immunity, because that'll remind me to go back and talk about that. Certain features of Omicron, including its global spread and large number of mutations, suggest that it could have a major impact on the course of the pandemic. Exactly what that impact will be is still difficult to know. This is head of the World Health Organization. Several studies suggest that Omicron leads to a rapid increase in transmission, he said. Those scientists are still trying to understand whether it can outcompete Delta. Data from South Africa also suggests a higher risk of reinfection with Omicron, though it appears that to cause a milder disease than Delta, he noted. Even though we still have need answers to some crucial questions, we are not defenseless against Omicron or Delta. The steps countries take today and in the coming days and weeks will determine how Omicron unfolds. Now, that's probably one of the few statements in this article I agree with. Or part of the statement is that we are not defenseless against Omicron or Delta. So why don't we take that? Do y'all agree we're not defenseless against Omicron or Delta? We probably mean it for different reasons. but we're not. I don't think we're defenseless again. Let me stop sharing my screen and bring the group on. What I want to do is share my comments. First and foremost, let's talk about immunity, because they're talking about immunity. And I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. I'm going to emphasize this. And my views don't necessarily represent everybody's views on the show. My colleagues, we agree sometimes, disagree sometimes, etc. But my understanding of immunity is that you have immunity with a healthy immune system intact. That's whether you've been exposed to an organism, a microbe, or not exposed to a microbe. So you have the innate immune system, the innate component of the immune system, the adaptive component of the immune system. The innate component of the immune system is your skin, your mucous membranes, cilia. You have inflammatory cells, your killer T cells, and other types of white blood cells that they stand guard. They stand guard of your, let's say you had a house, you have guards out front of your house. If an intruder, goes to your front gate or tries to get to your front door, the guards immediately recognize them as an intruder. They slap them around, kill them. They take photographs of them, and they take those photographs and go inside and hand it to the adaptive immune system. So before the intruder even gets to the front door, the healthy innate immune system don't even let them at the front door, let alone through the front door. It rises up, attacks quickly, and then shuts itself down, takes a picture, and gives that to the adaptive immune system. So the adaptive immune system say, hey, these guys tried to break in. Let's be on the lookout for them if they try to show up again. So the adaptive immune system over 2 weeks thought to build antibodies. And so your body is primed against this specific organism. But you're still immune, even though at the beginning you didn't have antibodies, but you have an intact immune system, because you have the innate immune system, which looks at anything foreign. So you need not to have seen it before. It's just the body says, I know you don't belong here. I haven't seen you before. I know you don't belong here. So it doesn't rely on previous exposure. So immunity is the immune system that's intact and functioning normally. So then once you've had the first exposure with an intact immune system, then if it comes again, that innate immune system says, hey, I've seen you before. Maybe it doesn't recognize it, say, but you don't belong here. And it slaps it around. And maybe you don't give the adaptive immune system process a chance. But if they do get in the door, then you have antibodies, your adaptive immune system there to take over. Now, if your immune system is weak, and if you're eating junk food, you're not taking care of your health, vitamin D levels low, you're not exercising, you're not getting sunshine, not getting fresh air, then the innate immune system is weak and sluggish. What I mean by that, those front guards who normally are alert and they're working out, they're strong, they're ready to attack. Those guards up front are at a point where they say they're a little bit drowsy, a little bit sleepy, a little bit jittery. And so the intruders start to sneak past the guards and get in the front door. And as a few intruders get in, 3, 4, 5, 10 intruders get in, maybe an intruder stubs his toe, one of the guards wake up and say, oh, wait, you don't belong here. And then they drunkenly run through the house and start shooting up the intruders, but then they shoot up other people that live in the house. So they shoot up the good and shoot up the bad. So they're slow to respond. That lets the intruders get in. Then when they respond, they're erratic and out of control. That's when you get the cytokine storms and the excessive immune system. That's what makes you sick. An immune system, an innate immune system that's slow to respond, so less the intruder gets in. And then when it does respond, it responds in an irrational manner. And so it's shooting up everybody, including the people that live there. So that's when your lungs get damaged, et cetera, et cetera. That's when the immune system is not. And so whether you have antibodies or not, if you have an innate immune system that's going to cause cytokine storm, you're still going to be at risk for getting sick and dying, because what kills you isn't necessarily the infection, but it's your body's immune system overreaction to the infection. That's what kills you. That's why we have to give steroids and other drugs to decrease inflammation. So I want you to understand immunity from the basics of how the immune system works. And you have immunity based on a healthy, intact immune system. Regardless of what your vaccination status, you can be vaccinated or unvaccinated, but you can have immunity with a healthy immune system. That's why, as Dr. Atkins pointed out at the very beginning, healthy nutrition, vitamin D levels, fresh air, sunshine, rest, all those things enhance your immune system's capability of doing its job, and that gives you immunity. And I want to emphasize that because it's not being emphasized by the general media. Anybody want to add to that? Or
Mark Burks asked a question: did the WHO get it wrong by defining natural immunity as having recovered from COVID, or is it having a good metabolic health? And so, going along with what you're saying and using you as an example, I don't know if you talked about it on this show, but you did the test for
yes,
your T cells.
The T cells.
And to let you know if your body has ever even had to deal with it. Although, physically you've been in clinic and you've treated COVID patients directly, your body hasn't even had to fight it because it didn't even penetrate. I'll just use, that. So yeah, natural immunity ideally, but I mean, again, Dr. Montgomery is raw food vegan, right? Exercising and doing everything. Fresh air, sunshine, doing everything that we want to be able to do. But if you're asking that question, yes, I think that the virus won't penetrate. You will never know that it even passed your way because your immune system is doing what you want to do. And I'll give an example for myself. So several years back, pre-COVID, I'm still vegan, but at work, they have parties and things like this. So somebody would always bring a vegan cake because sugar is also an issue for the immune system. Not just, it's not just about being vegan, but it's about feeding the body the things it needs to stay strong. So sugar is horrible for our immune system. But it was a bundt cake. It was, especially for me, it was vegan. So I ate it. I ate it at lunch because it was a party. I don't remember what holiday it was. It was a party or something. I ate it at lunch. They got it especially for me. So I ate the whole thing. And by the end of the day, now mind you, this is during sick season. So I'm seeing a lot of sick kids. And I went to work that day feeling fine. After I ate that cake, by the end of the day, my temperature was 102. I remember that because I don't often get that happening. That's happened maybe a handful of times in my life. But by the end of the day, I was 102. And people, my colleagues think that it was a coincidence, but I don't. Because once I ate that, I kind of felt, you kind of feel a little bit of sugar high. And I think I made my immune system a little bit drunk. And by the end of the day, I was sick. Now, I recovered quickly because I knew what to do once I got home, but it took me down. And that was just sugar. It was still vegan, but it
processed vegan, yeah.
Processed.
Yeah, they had it out for you. They probably add a little extra sugar on it. Yeah, I mean, those are excellent points because I think what we're dealing with is a situation where we have to look at it from a holistic standpoint. That word's thrown around a lot, but I think it's appropriate here. And it's not just, one pill or one, surgery or one shot or one whatever. It really deals with how the body functions as a whole. And we've gotten away from that. We've totally ignored that. I don't know if we were ever there. I'd say gotten away from it. I don't know if we were ever there in the recent few decades. But the point is that we really have to think of the body as a whole, because what we're clearly seeing is more people getting vaccinated. And I'm just seeing in the chat, my boss, so my boss came home with COVID, double vax and boosted. I mean, it's home with COVID. So the point is that it's, the vaccine is not the only answer. I'll just be mild and say that. I don't want to jump out and say too much, but it's certainly not the only answer. And I think we really have to, step back and do the right thing, because really your life and well-being is at stake. It's not. We're not saying these things just to be pro this or anti that or whatever. We're saying this to give you the best advice, to give you the most information, to improve your chance of saying well during the season. As I pointed out early, the number one cause of death in 2020 was heart disease. Number 2 was cancer. Number 3 was COVID, according to the data the AMA reported. So heart disease is still number 1. And the thing that we're recommending you do is helps you protect yourself against all of these elements and all of these diseases. And so that's clearly something that we want you to be on top of. Dr. Atkins, any comments on
Yes.
GT or that?
Yeah, there's several comments here. Several people are saying they know people that were fully vaccinated and some with even boosters and were positive. Everybody knows somebody. So I see a lot of comments on that. I agree with Dr. Palmer, things like, when we can eat vegan and plant-based, but things, but if organic, but if it's a lot of sugar, things like that, very inflammatory, just throws off our immune system. So we have to think about that. And I see Otis Granville said you need to make a movie, make an avatar video of the immune system.
That's a good idea. I'll take that under advisement. And Diane Little, I'm gonna throw this up here. Now, Dr. David Brownstein, Surgeon General for, wait, my bad. Sorry, I'll get to that in a minute. Florida Surgeon General promotes nutraceuticals for COVID. Said physicians should use clinical judgment. Clearly, vitamin D has been on the forefront of many minds, and I'm glad the Florida Surgeon General recognized its importance as well. So, again, he's recommending nutraceuticals. I think, again, it's along the lines of what we're talking about. But at least somebody's talking about things that are not just so, single focus. Okay.
I think what happens is that, obviously the people on here on the show are interested, but what happens in the general public is so much information is being put out, positive, negative. The average, people, they don't want to know all the details. They just want to know what to do. And for them, the easy thing of what to do is go get the vaccine. Because a lot of times when I'm talking to the parents and the patients, like the things that we all talk about a lot, they're not aware of many of the things that we're talking about in the articles, and they're not aware of any of that. Now it's out there, but I just think they just don't have an interest in looking at it or looking it up. And so they just want to be given directions as to, okay, what can I do to continue living the way that I live and get back to my life? Whether even though some of it they know is harmful, they want to get back to doing those things. And unfortunately, this is a time where we're seeing both. It doesn't work. Trying to do both doesn't work.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And the thing is that the point you make about people not wanting to think about the details and just do something quick that works, and what we often do is we go after something that's quick and it really doesn't work. We're under the impression that it works, but it says, okay, just do this. Take this shot, take this pill, take this prescription. Doctor, I don't have time to eat right and exercise. Just give me a pill, or 2 pills, or 10 pills, or 15 pills, so that I can, take care of this quickly. And what happens is that at the most you'll do with the medication is cover up a symptom. I'm just talking about medication in general, and the underlying process goes on, because the underlying process is your body breaking down due to the poor substances that you're putting in, whether it's food, bad water, lack of exercise, lack of sunshine, vitamin D, poor sleep. These are the things that's breaking your body down, and these are really the core of the illness. And so what we're dealing, whether it's heart disease or diabetes or COVID, is an outward manifestation of your body being unbalanced. If you catch an infection, that means your immune system is off balance. If you get a heart attack, then your physiological process is off balance. You got diabetes, your metabolic process is off balance. And so, these things are what we have to understand, that it's not so much, some disease coming from Mars and infecting you, or some genetic predisposition that you can't do anything about, but rather it's your body getting off balance based on your environment. And so once you're off balance, then you have to put yourself back in balance. And you have to do that by changing your environment of food, environment of the space around you, your sleep environment, even your people environment. People around you that are stressing you out could contribute to a lot of these things. So it's about getting in balance. And I think that would be a critical thing. Any other comments y'all see that I overlooked?
Yes, Mary McCoy asked about should we take more vitamin D during the dark, when there's less sunshine, winter, or colder, or more dreary months. And I think that's a good point. Many times our requirement for vitamin D does go up with less sun exposure, and even even places where there is more sunshine, like Florida or even Texas, where we have a milder winter. Many people stay inside. Just because you have warmer weather doesn't mean you're exposed to sun. Many of us get into our cars and go to work and come home and are not sitting on our back patio and are walking to work or walking to the store. So I think depending on our sun exposure, we may need more vitamin D. And it's not necessarily just the weather, because people don't always have more sun exposure because of the weather. But I think it's always good to get a vitamin D test, to ask your doctor. There's some labs where you can order your own test, but to know your number, and maybe to do your test twice a year, maybe every 6 months, and know your number, and have a target number that your doctor, your health professional has told you is optimal, and optimal for you, and to target that number. And there are just a few exceptions about taking higher doses of vitamin D if someone has hypercalcemia or sarcoidosis or hyperparathyroid disorder or something like that causing high calcium. Maybe speak to your doctor, but most people can tolerate more of optimal doses of vitamin D as in dog.
Dr. Palmer, any comments?
One of the things that I was thinking is at work right now, it's cold season. So children are coming in with a lot of colds and congestion. And we have unfortunately created so much fear that the parents are fearful of even those things, and kind of have forgotten what to do first to kind of deal with the things to help their immune system. I think people are not even thinking about an immune system. So, absolutely what we put in our body on a daily basis, on a regular basis, through our mouth has an effect on our body. And I just wanted to say that, because I think we detach that what we put in our mouth is what builds our body and what has a direct effect on our body. Just like if I were to give you a pill of medication, once you put that pill in your mouth, it affects your body. So when you put that potato chip in your mouth, it affects your body, every chip. And so, I think we have to remind ourselves, if we think about it, we know it, but we have to remind ourselves of these simple things and get back into taking some responsibility for what is happening in our body. Because by the time sometimes you get to the doctor, or things may have progressed, and I'm not even talking about COVID, I'm just saying colds, congestion, runny nose, flu. Things may have progressed to now you have muscle aches and all of this other stuff going on, whereas you could have stopped it at just the cough and sore throat and not had the sequelae of symptoms coming along. So I think we have to remind ourselves how to take care of our bodies. recognize signals from our bodies and respond to that quicker, so that we are not having to go to the hospital or go to the doctor with things that we could have started the work on at home. Now, some people, your patients, some people are sicker and they need to go directly to you or to the hospital. I get that, but I'm not talking about those type of patients.
Yeah. And even people with chronic illnesses, if they're not acutely ill and decompensating, they can really do some things to get their health up even before they decompensate. So there are a lot of people really, ill, but they're kind of stable, chronically ill. And if they start to do these things that Dr. Axe, Dr. Palmer just mentioned, then they can really, I've seen people in a matter of days to weeks start to turn around with the right type of optimal nutrition, hydration, and superfoods and vitamins and things like that. And you do reduce oxidative stress. I've had patients in the ICU who are critically ill for other reasons, heart failure. I get them super greens in their system. It starts reducing oxidative stress within days. I have people on hospice who give it up to die on inotropic drugs. I wean them off inotropic drugs and that type of thing. So these things happen even in the very sick people, and it happens pretty quickly. You just have to do the right thing. You have to do it aggressively. But you don't have to wait until you're that sick. You can start to do things, as Dr. Palmer just said, before you have to go to the emergency room, the things you can start to do. And before you get the first sniffle, you start doing these things, then you really boost your chances, there's that word again, of not getting sick at all and not, having to go to the hospital to do anything. So let's see here. Any other comments I'm missing here? This Rosetta Aziz transmitters England's reported that at some point, if this variant becomes the dominant strain, if there's no vaccine to stop the spread, will these create natural immunity? You develop some form of herd immunity to these viruses that live in our environment. There are people. So early on in coronavirus, there were people that they did some cases. It was a series of cases in Singapore, but they did some studies and some other places. I don't remember exactly where, but they saw these clusters of families, a good number of them, in fact, where you have, 7 or 8 people living in a house. 1 or 2 people get COVID and nobody else got it. And this is during the earlier variants. And they were perplexed by this. And so they did a study where they analyzed the blood of the people that were closely exposed to COVID and did not catch COVID. And they analyzed their blood, and what happens is they exposed their blood to the coronavirus. And what they saw was that they had T-cell reaction to the coronavirus in the blood of these patients. And this is before, this is early on in the pandemic. And what they realized is that these people had cross immunity from coronavirus from the common cold. And there are 4 different coronaviruses to common cold. They have about anywhere from about a 49% to 54% genetic cross-reactivity relationship or commonality, if you will. And so there are many people that were immune to COVID, had T-cell immunity or cellular immunity to COVID before they were even exposed to COVID. Now, that's not exactly what I was talking about. I was saying your innate immune system, which is non-specific, you have that immunity up front, but then the people who are exposed to the virus or a cousin or relative of the virus early on get immunity. So to that question, will you get natural immunity if it becomes endemic? The answer is yes. And you may get natural immunity to other variants down the road, because if you allow your natural immune system to come into play, then it looks at the total virus, and a variant is a relative of the original virus. So people that caught COVID early on, even if they didn't get the vaccine, will have a better chance of getting immunity to Delta and Omicron. In fact, this data out of Israel showed exactly that. The people out of Israel said the people that had natural infection and no vaccine compared to people who had vaccine and no natural infection, there was a 13 times greater protection in the natural immunity from asymptomatic infection, and a 27 times greater protection of natural immunity from symptomatic infection with Delta. So, you can argue, well, the vaccine would test against the initial one, and that's true, but the infection was with the initial virus. So what's the difference? The difference is when you get infected with the virus naturally, then your immune system, you make multiple types of antibodies that looks at different parts of the virus. When you get a vaccine, it looks at only one part of the spike protein. So like you got a vaccine, like it's at my nose, not just my nose, but it looks at this part of my nose. But then if I get an infection or the natural immunity sees me, it looks at my whole nose, the left ear, the right ear, my chin, the bald spot, forehead, 8 head, 12 head, some people call it. But it looks at the whole picture of me. So I go and get a nose job. Then the antibody said, I don't know who you are. The vaccinated means I don't know who you are. But the natural immunity said, I know you. Your nose is different, but the left ear, right ear recognized. That 8 head I see, got the same bald spot. You don't belong here. You're COVID. So that's the difference between natural immunity, looks at the total part of the virus, and selective immunity with the vaccine. So that's why you're seeing so many breakthroughs, if you will, and reinfection is very, very rare. Any other comments?
It's a comment over here that Diane Little put in at the last one.
Last one, okay. What's share it with us? Leave the toilet is open.
Yeah,
You know, that was talked about on a news show or something. Well, yeah, I've always heard that the toilet, when you flush the toilet, you get bacteria and stuff that flush out.
yeah, and I've heard that, and that's likely true. And it's a lot of, and I haven't heard. I mean, I haven't. This article that she puts up, I have not seen that article, but I've heard that. I've heard also that when you walk into a restroom and it smells putrid, that you're also kind of taking those particles into your system also. So all of that is likely very true.
Yeah.
And really gross when you think about it.
Yeah.
But the point is, I mean, in staying with our same thing, a strong immune system means it should not matter, right? For example, when you go, when people do mud runs, for example, it's mud, but there are microbes in the earth.
Yep.
But since that is something that's supposed to be fun, nobody thinks about getting sick from that, and they shouldn't.
That's right.
Because you should be able to do a mud run and take and breathe in and drink all of these. I'm sure not on purpose, but you're gonna get mud in your mouth because you're running through a maze. But you should come out of there tired, but not sick the next day. So it's the same thing when we're moving around on the planet. We're walking in the bathrooms, people are flushing the toilet, somebody goes in the bathroom, don't flush, we have to flush, and now so all of this stuff is put in aerosolized. We're in the pool, somebody urinates in the pool, we know that happens. Now, this is in the chlorine. Chlorine can't kill all of that. It should not make us sick if our immune system is functioning like it should.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And the mud run, the nice thing about that is that that's really healthy because you want to get those microbes in your system. That's kind of a healthy part of grounding and all of that stuff. And we're too clean. I mean, we live with microbes, and I haven't really done too much work on vaccines' effect on your microbiome. I actually did do a quick search and I didn't find too much, but I haven't really done anything exhaustive. But the long story short is that our microbiome is really important, an important part of our immune system, and a healthy microbiome is really key. And so mud running would be a very, very healthy way. The only comment I'll mention about the putrid bathrooms is that, the worse you eat, the more putrid your stool is. And so your bowels should run frequently and should be less putrid. I remember, and I'll share this anecdote, a little funny. We were in my office, and most people haven't been in my office. Some of you have, but we have a large waiting room, and then in the back of the waiting room is a bathroom for staff. And so we were having an evening event where we were doing like an open house. We were talking about the things we do and so on and so forth. And so anyway, one of the guys, it was after the presentation, and we were all standing around talking, and I was talking to a group of people. You know, people mingle in clusters, and they were asking questions. And one guy went to the bathroom, and so he went and closed the door, and then I don't remember the time frame, but I remember this huge foul odor just taking over the entire room. We have a high ceiling. The ceiling's like 25 feet high, an arched roof, and it's a large way. I mean, and so that foul, and I was far from the bathroom, and the door was closed, and the putrid. It's almost like the funk came out, and it says, "Hi, I'm Mr. Funk." And something bad just happened there. And so the funk filled the room. And then after the room was filled with funk, then I heard the toilet flushed. And then you hear him washing his hand, and then he comes out the door. But the funk had come out. I mean, so and this is a young, thin guy, healthy, but he ate a lot of steak. He knew it. He was in the audience. And so the bottom line is that there's a lot of dead animals in his body. And so if you got putrid, foul-smelling stool, then that's a sign that you've got a bad stuff in your system. You got bad microbes. Your microbiome is off, et cetera, and you need to make some change. You need to detox or do something like that. Final words to my comments. Dr. Atkins, what say you? The final words.
You caught me off guard with that last one. But in addition, just regular eliminations. Many times when we have sluggish bowels, we don't, have prone to constipation. I think if we eat at least 2 times a day, we should have eliminated even at least 2 times a day. And 3 times is not too many. But I think once a day is better than once a week or every 3 days. But the more fiber and water and less decaying animal products, animal food in our colon, the healthier our colon is, and I think reduces the risk for other cancers like including colon cancer. So I think that's a good point. Our immune system's healthy and having good eliminations, and it depends on what we put in our body.
Yeah, they probably should do a study on the foul smell of the stool as it relates to your infection with COVID. Dr. Palmer, what are your final words for our audience tonight?
I just want us to, and this is why I try to teach the children, it's time for us to take the wheel back, because I feel like we've given over so much of our power to so many other entities outside of us. And it has us running in every direction looking for a solution, where the solution is with us. And we have people around who can help guide us. And you should think of people around you to help guide and find people that you feel comfortable doing that. But, every time something happens now, we're looking outside of us for a solution. And I think that's a never ending cycle. So, I think taking control of your diet, or I shouldn't even use the word diet, we use the word live it, right? Taking control of what we put in our mouth, taking control of how we live our lives, getting outside and being intentional about getting outside. I know it's difficult, and now it's a little bit cooler. But, being intentional about the way that we live our life, because you can't do things by accident and think that you're going to achieve a purpose. So you have to kind of live on purpose to kind of achieve your purpose. So that's.
I can't state it any better than that. You have to live purposefully to achieve your purpose, because you kind of do it haphazardly, you'll end up in bad shape. Well, as always, I learned a lot. I want to thank both my colleagues, Dr. Celeste Palmer, Dr. Pam Atkins. I will see you 2 ladies backstage, and I will close out tonight. So essentially, as we stated, one, we want to wish Chef Babette a happy birthday, happy 51st birthday. We will see you next week on our show to talk about, holiday meals, particularly Christmas meals, healthy Christmas meals. But this article, I think, says a lot in the sense that, very early on, the pharmaceutical companies are projecting the need for yet another vaccine when we don't know what the actual disease does. The early indication is very mild, only one reported death. It may be very contagious, but as my panelists pointed out, we have to look within ourselves and apply natural, healthy ways of living, and not just rely on, some magic pill or magic vaccine all the time. And so your health is universal to your overall well-being, at least from the physical standpoint, but even beyond the physical standpoint to a certain extent. So hopefully this was very helpful to you. If you found this content helpful and beneficial, hit the thumbs up. We really need lots of thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And so like us, subscribe, and by all means share. This is an important message for your loved ones, friends, neighbors to get as we go through this winter season together. We want you to be informed and empowered to improve your overall well-being, not just your survival, but your conquering of any potential threat or illness. So until next time, keep it fresh, natural, and live.